Can you imagine, with the time that we're in now, the pace of change and our workload? Oh, it's not going away anytime soon. Anybody concur with that? Yeah. And we have all of these little surprises that come up at work every day that we didn't anticipate. Now, in my workshops and my coaching with clients these days, I'm hearing a lot about that. And in fact, just a few days ago in one of my workshops, there were leaders that were telling me just about everything that was going on. Now, I want you to imagine the conversation in our workshop room going around, bouncing around the room with comments like these. It seems like we have just had one wave after another, and we can't get any rest. It is just one thing after another. I mark one thing off my list, and I add 5 more. Everybody is just worn out and burned out. Does any of that sound familiar to you? Yeah, for so many. And how we respond to these challenges is really what makes the difference for us, because we can't necessarily control when these crises come, all these global events that keep coming, all of the daily disruptions that we didn't anticipate. You know, we don't know when those are going to come up or how they're going to affect us. But one thing we can be sure is that they're coming. So we want to be mindful of how we respond in those situations, because it can affect, it heavily influences the levels of stress, the levels of anxiety and fear and burnout that you and your team will experience. And that is what I want to change for you today. Gigi, I'm always trying to entertain this 19-month-old, and you know how that is with songs and stories, and I'm trying to think of these nursery rhymes too, remembering things from when I grew up. And I'm reminded of, and especially in this time, Jack and Jill. Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water. Jack fell down and broke his crown, and Jill came tumbling after. In fact, the definition of resilience by the American Psychological Association tells us that to be resilient means that we adapt well when we're facing tragedy, trauma, crises, fear, danger, all of those things. It is how well we adapt to those different situations. Now, a lot of times people think about adapting like a rubber band, I often hear. And you have at your tables a band, a wristband. And as we think about a rubber band, I want you to think about less that it bounces back, less about that analogy, and more about how a rubber band is able to adapt. So using the same framework in our minds, but a different connection point to what a rubber band means to adaptability. You know, we pull it, we stretch it. It has purpose and utility. We put it around things to hold things together. So I want you to think about that adaptability, that flexibility piece when you think about that definition. And when you wear your wristband, you can remember that. When we put these Resilience Ready principles together as a system, we can see how they work together to really help us to build, to demonstrate, to lead with resilient adaptability. They help us to get through these tough times. They help us to lead change, to pull our tribe, our community together through change so that we can get through it. So I encourage you, work with your teams, pull people together. You know, there's a starting point for you to build personal resilience first. Resilience is an individual and a team sport. Without it yourself, how can you ask your team members to be resilient? So we got to work on ourselves a little bit and then engage our team. I provided tons of resources for you to be able to do that. And here's where we're going to start today in your exercise with me. There's so much good conversation going on here, and as I scrolled through and heard some of your conversations, I'm so inspired by what the future holds for you. That is awesome. We often don't take time to really think about these things. But as leaders, especially, we need to, and think about how are we going to move our team forward? What do we need? Where are we now? Where are we going? Where are the gaps? What do we need? How do we get that breakthrough? We need the breakthrough. You can be that oak tree. You are that oak tree. You can lead. You can move forward with resilient adaptability.